Hello and welcome. I'm so glad you're a member of my YouTube channel for relationship help. And you're seeing me in the raw today because the green screen doesn't seem to be working here and YouTube. But that doesn't matter because we're going to talk about saying no to gaslighting. And it's important for us to realize that gaslighting is something that hijackals love to do. It gives them a sense of control. They like to be the master puppeteers and pulling all the strings and holding all the strings over you. And when you realize that that's what brings them joy, that's what brings them glee, that's what puts that hijackal smirk on their faces, it's a good thing to focus on saying no to gaslighting. So what is gaslighting? I've done videos on it. You're welcome to always do a search on my YouTube channel and find it. And thank you also again for being a member. I want to do more and more for members here. So helping you know topics a little bit deeper than some of the videos is important to me, and this is one of those. Gaslighting is basically when someone else tells you what you think, need, want, or feel. They're trying to say, I know you better than yourself. And when someone says that to you, I know you better than you know yourself, and they're a person you find difficult, see that as one huge red flag because they mean it. That's gaslighting. I'll tell you what you think. I'll tell you what you want. I'll tell you what you need. I'll tell you how you feel. I'll tell you how you remember what we did together, even though the hijackal story is way off what you may have remembered. They're happy to tell you that you're wrong about your own experience, about what you saw with your own eyes, heard with your own ears. They're going to tell you that you're wrong. Now, how can that be healthy? Well, it isn't. Gaslighting is not healthy. And so as we go through this, and if you're here live, which is lovely that some of you are, please feel free to ask any questions you have in the chat, and I'll answer them in the end. So gaslighting is important. It's important to recognize because it can be very subtle. I think you'd prefer this, wouldn't you? And if you start to second guess yourself at that moment, would I prefer that? Have I preferred that? Will I be consistent with what I preferred before? What will make them happy if I say yes? You start to second guess yourself and say, oh, well, maybe they'll like me if I give the answer, yes, I would prefer that. Start to see that those are pieces of the gaslighting strategy that gives them power over your life. And they'll take it, but let's not be handing that power to them. Let's not just be saying, oh, yeah, here, have the power in my life. Take away my thought patterns. Don't bother asking me what I think, feel, need, want, prefer, or remember. Just tell me, and then I'll get it right. And then you will get off my case, and it will be much easier and much better. And as that occurs to you, and let it sink in, when has that happened? When's the last time a hijackal parent or partner or sibling or ex or even an adult child told you what you wanted or made an assumption about how you feel? Because basically gaslighting is defining your reality for you. And after a while, you don't want to fight with them anymore. You really don't want to fight with them anymore because fighting with a hijackal is pointless, fighting itself. But learning how to speak up for yourself, that's where the power is. That you can say, actually, no, I don't feel like that. Or, no, I've never wanted that. Or, well, you might think that that's how I feel, but I don't. And you begin to just say those things. They're small, they're neutral, they can be benign. But to a hijackal, it's like, what? What? You're not going along with what I said? And they get disturbed by that. But on the other hand, it's time to reclaim your power and rebuild your life. Whether you're ready to leave the hijackal or not, it is time to reclaim your power. And if you've given away or they've taken away and you've gone down the path of least resistance and agreed with them, your power to say what you think, feel, need, or want, let's take that back. Because you are an adult human. And you need to be the one who's thinking about, what do I need? What do I want? What floats my boat and flips my skirt? I say that so frequently when I'm talking about my work. People say, well, you work, you do a lot. And I said, yeah, but every morning it still floats my boat and flips my skirt. What floats your boat and flips your skirt? That a hijackal, and maybe it's not your skirt, of course, for those male people who are listening, but for me, it's my skirt. What is it? Do you know anymore? When you've been with a hijackal for a long time, you may not even know anymore. You may have given up so much. You may have given up even thinking about what you want because it's not available to you. You may have given up expressing what you want because the hijackal isn't listening and they want to argue with you. So if these are parts of the process that you recognize right now, it's important to get in touch with that and say, whoa, I didn't realize how much I have just given up. I'm just going along with what the hijackal says, and they're gaslighting me. And I don't want that anymore. I want to feel like I deserve to take up space and draw breath, that I have a voice in this world, that I can speak up about what I want and what I'm feeling. And if somebody tells me, you don't feel like that, see that as a double red flag. Right? How does any other person know how you feel? It's impossible. No one can know how you feel but you. And if you're with a person who tells you how you feel rather than asks you how you feel, you are in red flag territory. That could have been your parent. Maybe you lived with that your whole growing up life, and now you've got a partner who does that, and somehow it just feels familiar. Oh, well, that's the story of my life. But do you want it to be? Do you want it to be the story of your life? Or do you want to take your pen and your paper and write your story and not allow some hijackal to hijack the story of your life? Because they will do it with gaslighting. They will do it in obvious ways. They will do it in heavy-handed ways. They will argue with you and make it a big deal. And they'll do it in subtle ways. And when you start to realize that, you just get that little feeling, oh, did you just tell me what I want? Then you start to speak up. And that's how you say no to gaslighting. We don't poke hijackals. I just did a seminar for the members over at Emerging Empowered Community, my community, on poking hijackals. And it was called How Not to Poke a Hijackal and Still Say No. Because poking hijackals only gets us into a place where they're really, really angry, and it doesn't move us forward in any way. So if you're interested in the Emerging Empowered Community, you can simply go to joinintoday.com, joinintoday.com and see all about it. But the point there that I'm making is that we get into a place where we've kind of given up. Oh, have it your way. I don't want to fight. Oh, you must be right. I don't even know what I think anymore. And in a very, very good book, an older book now called Emotional Blackmail, Susan Forward used the acronym FOG. And FOG is what hijackals are very, very good at. And FOG stands for fear, obligation, and guilt. So you can see that those are directly related to gaslighting. You know, you would be really upset with yourself if you didn't do that, right? Do you stop and say, would I be really upset with myself if I didn't do it? Would it be all right with me if I didn't do it? Would I rather do something else? But the hijackal says, you would be really upset with yourself if you didn't do this that I'm telling you to do. Do you see how it's layers deep? That's important to recognize in gaslighting. And you have it layers deep, and then you have it over a long relationship. Maybe you had a parent who always told you what you felt, and you just grew up in a fog. And the fear part's there. Oh, what if I don't please them? What if they're not happy with me? What if they don't like me? And we can get into a people-pleasing codependent model. And then the O is for obligation. You know, if you were a good person, you would do this. Anybody ever say that to you? That's gaslighting. If you were a good person, you would do this. And particularly a hijackal will add, if you were a good person, you'd do what I want you to do. If you were a nice person, you do what I want you. If you were a healthy person, they'll use any word that will trigger an emotion in you that will get you to go along with them. And there's where the obligation is. You owe me, you know, I've done so many things for you. Oh, those weren't gifts? Those weren't you just doing things because you care about me? Ask yourself those questions. Those are important questions. And now they're using it as an obligation, a tit for tat, a scoreboard. You know, I talk about in episode 115 of Save Your Sanity podcast, I talk about the 3 must-haves of a healthy adult relationship. They are equality, reciprocity, and mutuality. Don't ever confuse somebody who has a scoreboard with someone who is being reciprocal. They are not. They are storing up ammunition to hit you with and create that obligation. So fear and obligation. And then the last one is guilt. You're going to feel really badly if, or I thought you loved me. Or you tell me all the time you'll do anything I want and you won't do this. Gaslighting. Gaslighting. You know, it comes from the old 1940s movie by that name, Gaslight, where somebody was endeavoring to drive someone crazy by telling them that they didn't recognize their own reality. And if you have a quiet evening, you might want to go and really listen to that. Or listen to who used to be the Dixie Chicks, now the Chicks. They have a whole song about gaslighting. I have many videos on it. Don't think you know until you've really delved in there and say, what does gaslighting look like with that particular person? What is that particular person in my life doing that is gaslighting? So when you want to say no to it, you have to start by saying no internally. You have to recognize they just told me what I want. They just told me how I feel. They just told me what I need. You know, if you pay good money and you go to a coach or you go to a seminar or you go to a YouTube video and they say, do this, do this, do this to get the result you want. That's because we asked. You tell me and I'll make a choice. But when a hijackal says, you need to do this and you should do this and you feel this way, they don't want you to have a choice. They want you to accept their edict. They want you to accept that they know you better than you know yourself. And when you get in touch with that, whoa, it's a big moment. So take out a journal and write down how many times does the hijackal I have in mind, and with what words do they actually tell me what I feel, what I want, what I need, what I think, what I prefer, what I remember, what I enjoy. And then notice, how frequently do they do it? Write down all those things and then go back to your journal every time they do it and see how frequently they do it. And then the answer is, oh no, now I see it, how I clearly see it, and it's not okay with me. So you don't come out of the gate yelling and screaming, don't gaslight me, because that never works with a hijackal. First of all, you notice inside, then you deepen your understanding of what's happening, and then you start saying and using my personal weather report. Now, if you haven't seen the videos on it or you haven't read my book, Kaizen for Couples, there's 2 chapters on it in there, then go to personalweatherreport.com, and I've put the videos and some writing there to help you. And what the personal weather report will help you do is to know that because you deserve to take up space and draw breath on this earth, you also have the right to simply say what you think, feel, need, and want, as long as you do not mention another human by name or pronoun. You know what's going on within you, and catch up with yourself. If you no longer know what's going on within you, that's the first part of your work. Recognizing the gaslighting, getting in touch with, no, I don't want what they say I want. What do I want? Get in touch with that. Do the internal work. If you want to work with me, it's simple. Go to beaclient.com. Beaclient.com. Get in touch with it. And then the next time it happens, you'll say, actually, I don't feel that way. Because you have the right to say that. Actually, I don't feel that way. And say it in a neutral way. Not, how dare you, I don't feel that way. Just say, actually, I don't feel that way. And they will try to convince you. But when you start saying, actually, I don't feel that way, or no, that's not what I really want, you just start saying things like that. You're just taking up the space you're on and grounding yourself in, oh, no, not this time. You are not going to push me over and tell me what I want. You are not going to gaslight me. And that's a big step. So your internal work, and then making a statement of, actually, that's not true. And after you've done that, and they begin to get used to you saying, no, actually, I don't feel that way, you can say, but if you'd like to know how I feel, I'm happy to tell you if you ask. Now, why is that important? Because if you fill in the blank and say, I don't feel that way, I feel this way, as one of the first steps, they'll argue with you. They will just argue with you because they have to be right. You know that's true of hijackals. They have to be right. So don't set yourself up for an argument. Take the steps, internal work. No, actually, I don't feel that way. And then if you'd like to know how I feel, you're welcome to ask. And then after you've done that for a while, then you can say, I actually don't feel that way. And I probably won't. And here is the direction I'm going with that. Now, you don't tell them how you feel. You just say, actually, I'm going in this direction. And that gives you a grounding. It gives you that feeling of, okay, I'm allowed to say this. It's okay. I can take up this space. They don't like it. They're grumbling. They're mumbling. They're, how dare you-ing. But you begin to straighten up. You begin to occupy more space. And that's how you begin to say no to gaslighting. And it is such an important step to take. So I hope that you found some strength in these words and some clarity in what gaslighting looks like in your life, and that you'll sit with that journal and figure it out. What does gaslighting look with the person I have in mind? What do they say? How do they respond? And what am I going to step up? What am I going to step up and do? And take those incremental steps to saying no to gaslighting in your life. Now, as I said, if you'd like some support, Come and join my emerging empowered community. Go to joinintoday.com. And if you'd like to work with me, I offer a 1-hour introductory new client only session at beaclient.com. I'm Dr. Rhoberta Shaler. You'll find me at emergingempowered.com, and I really invite you to step by step, no matter how slowly, be emerging empowered. Talk soon.